On today's show, we will talk about marriages, and then later, Cory Bell will join us to discuss how she has made her marriage flourish. Recently, I attended a funeral, and no one likes to attend funerals, but this funeral was pretty different. To me, it was one of the most beautiful and memorable funerals that I've ever been to. You see, this funeral was a celebration of a man who decided many years ago to follow Jesus no matter what. His name, Pastor Henry Schaefer. At a young age, he surrendered his life to Jesus even when he knew the backlash he would face from his father in doing this. His father was known as the town drunk and was a pretty angry man. When Henry decided to live his life for Christ and attend church, his father would actually lock him out of the house at night. Henry would then have to sleep outside all night long. I can't imagine the emotional pain from this, but Henry was determined to serve Christ no matter what. And a statement that Henry heard quite often about his family was, "Can anything good come from the Schaefer family?" And I want you to know that answer is yes. Henry went on to become a pastor. He pastored for over 60 years, impacting many. His son then became a pastor, and his grandson too. The legacy that he left will live on, and because of a decision that he made so many years ago, many lives have been changed forever. That's why this funeral was so different for me. Sure, he will absolutely be missed. But as I sat there and listened, I was blessed and motivated. Motivated to make sure I do the same in my time here on earth. I hope to have a funeral like that someday. A goodbye that can be celebrated because of what I chose to do here on earth. I pray that people can say, look at the good that came from Kelly because she made the choice to follow Christ. Did she always get it right? No. But she did have a deep love for the things of God. Maybe you've been told nothing good can come from your life, or maybe you've said those words over yourself. But let me remind you that we can make a decision to live for Christ, and everything is possible when we do. And we can answer back confidently that yes, good will come because of who my God is. And my God has amazing things in the works as we choose to surrender to Him. And we are just three ladies with big opinions, always backed by a biblical standpoint. Let's talk about it.
This segment is brought to you by Harry's Construction, whose motto is, "If you can dream it, we can create it." They are the kitchen and bath design experts, so call Harry's Construction for all your remodeling needs.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It, and today's episode is all about marriages. Girls, marriages, you know, they're not easy, but they can be a blessing. Mm-hmm. We can have good times, bad times, and everything in between.
Yeah, everything in between.
I kind of, this week, tensions were a little high at my house, and for no real apparent reason, I guess. Just sometimes it gets that way.
It does.
Yeah.
And I thought about this question. I thought, marriage life is not a utopia. It's not where you stay and everything lies perfect all the time. It's how you navigate when it is a little salty. And it was a little salty. And we got through it.
It's not always Sunday morning. You know? I mean, a lot of times people, especially Christian people, tend to look at people at church and say, oh, I wish I had their marriage, when they don't realize we all go through the same things.
Oh, we do. And it is in those times is when I'm in the utopia stage, I'm not really learning much. It's just how it is. But even this week, there was a little bit of self-awareness and
I liked your term salty. It was a little salty this week. I like that term.
A little salty. But we got through it, and that was the main thing. and you can't stay there. I didn't want to stay there. He's my buddy. Johnny is my buddy. He's my best friend, and I didn't want to stay in that salty space. It was very uncomfortable. It was very, very uncomfortable. I didn't like it at all.
So how do you get out of it? How'd y'all get out of it this week?
We had to admit to ourselves that it was salty, and one of us, well, I think I might have like exploded a little bit, like I can't stand this anymore. And then we just had to talk it out, and each person had to admit their wrongs, because I had my stuff to own, he had his stuff to own, and I believe it was him. He apologized to me, he woke me up, and he said, I am so sorry. He said, the Lord revealed this to me as I was sitting down in the basement, and I have to be able to accept that apology. I have to be able to accept that. Sometimes we don't want to accept the apology because we just want to be mad.
Yeah, we like the way we're. I deserve to be mad. I'm in a bad mood. I'm just going to be ticked off. I don't care what you say. You know
Exactly.
No.
But I had to say, oh,
Humble yourself.
forgiven. Yeah, forgiven, and walk away. Last night was a lot better. Yeah, we were sitting there for 2 days watching stuff on TV and nobody's talking. It was like the Great Divide, and it's like, oh, I hate it.
Something that I've noticed is I've watched a lot of TV and movies throughout the years, and they portray marriage very differently than what marriage is. And that's hard because that's what you've seen, or maybe, you've seen not the insides of marriages, you just see on the outside. So like you said, you see church people. And so your
expectation
is really whack in some areas because that's all you've seen. So then you want that for your marriage, and that's not real. And that's hard. It's hard sometimes to overcome.
Right.
Overcome that.
And I used to quite honestly hold on. I was like a crock pot on low that just constantly is at a simmer. And I could hold on to my anger for quite a significant amount of time. And honestly, it's coming before God and saying, I want more. I want more of God, which makes me want to be better for my husband.
Yeah.
And that you saying that reminds me of this. I probably learned this in one of you guys used to do those little marriage conferences. I probably learned it there. But the triangle thing, and God's up here, I'm here, John's here, and the closer we get to him, the closer we are together. And it's such a simple thing, but it is so true.
It is.
Because if you're down here in these corners, you're far away from God and you're far away from each other. And that's when I feel like married people live together, but they each go their own ways. And
something that I started doing with couples that I do premarital counseling with, I make a commitment to see them again at 6 months, at a year, at 18 months, because most people wait till it's too late to get help.
Yes,
I
agree.
have so many stories like that where it's like, oh, I didn't realize you guys are going through all of this. And now it's almost too late.
Most of the time they've given up.
Yeah.
And they do counseling so that they can say, well, we tried counseling. Well, no. Make a commitment to really talk about the hard things with these couples that we know. Say, how is your relationship with Jesus? And how is your relationship with each other? Real.
I've said it once and I'll say it again. It has to be at this point in our lives. We're not in those stages, us three, where like when we first met our spouses and all the fireworks.
Oh,
and,
that's right.
We're not in that.
They're long gone.
No. But you have to wake up every single day and make a choice.
Yeah.
Every single day.
For real. It is a choice. It is a choice to say, I'm not going to get divorced.
That's right.
That just phrase never even enters my mind of like divorce is an option.
We've never talked about divorce.
Yeah.
I think we both think about murder multiple times a week, but we have never talked about
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Yeah.
It's just, like I said, it's a choice. Listen, He could find someone probably nicer than me, more beautiful.
It's true.
And I could probably do the same. There are billions of people out in that world that
Yeah.
we could seek, but we wake up every day
Yeah.
and we pick the same. I pick the same guy every day.
Right.
And my daughter, she's so young still, but she always says, "Oh no, if this does not work out, I am not planting another rose bush and pruning that baby."
That's
to
right.
be-
Just work on the one you've got.
I'm not re-pruning and replanting. No. And that's kind of the way I feel. Like, we
And honestly, John and I laugh a lot. We laugh at each other. We laugh at ourselves.
Yep.
We do. We laugh a lot. I don't get anymore. I should say anymore. I don't get my feelings hurt by him when we laugh. Like if I do something that's just stupid, I'm okay laughing about it. You know.
Yep.
We
And I
laugh.
think a big thing is communication. Communication
Yeah.
is key. Like to talk it out. Like just talk about life. Talk about God. How's He moving in your life? I think.
before things get bad.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
On a
'Cause
regular
when things are
day-to-day
bad, you
basis.
don't really want
That's
to.
right.
Right.
That's right.
And one thing I've noticed recently, just being a woman's leader at Transformation Church, is how many marriage issues are within the church.
Yes.
So many more than I thought.
Yes.
And
We need to address them
Yeah.
in a godly way.
right. And it's okay to get help.
Yes.
It's okay. Like I think sometimes people in the church think they can't ask for help because they shouldn't be having marriage problems because they're Christians. Well, no, marriage is hard whether you're
Yeah.
a Christian or not.
We're just people.
Yeah, and it's okay to ask for help.
Yes.
Yes. And there's seasons in life that bring out the best and worst in all
Oh,
of us.
absolutely.
You
Oh
know?
my goodness. Having babies and raising
Yes.
kids. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Well, even for me, like I'm on a medicine that makes me tired, makes me not feel well,
Yeah.
makes me grouchy,
Yeah.
it does these things. And that's already part of my personality, so now it's amped up.
Yeah.
And thankfully I do have a husband that's the calmness and the
And you know, there are days when I wake up on the wrong side of the bed.
Yes.
You know, you can be in
Every
a bad
day?
mood.
And I admit it.
every
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
But there are times I will say to John, and I did this when the girls were little too. I would say, you know what, I need a time out, and so I'm gonna separate myself because I'm feeling ugly today. I just feel ugly inside today.
I've done
And
that.
I put myself in a time
I'll
out.
say, I don't know why, but I just
Yes.
am very grouchy and
Yeah.
annoyed, and I apologize, but, and I got to go
Yeah.
rein myself in. But I've also had to say, well, I feel like I'm on your nerves today.
Oh, I did that. I'm like, am I bothering you today?
Am
Do
I
you
on
need
your
some
nerves?
time and space?
Oh, that's hilarious.
But admitting it, and being around people who will build up your marriage, not tear it down.
Yes.
Not tear it down.
Right. We need people that encourage.
Yes.
And love.
Yes. And if I call Teresa and say, I am so mad at John Collins, and blah, 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 I don't expect her to immediately say, now, Arlene, don't be doing that. But I expect her to rein me back around and say, let's think about what's really going on.
We have a
Right.
little saying at our house, no matter how flat you make a pancake, there's always two sides.
Oh.
I might
That
have to
is a
give
good
credit
one.
to Johnny Miller for that, but we have said that for a long time.
That's a good one. No matter how flat you make a pancake, there's always two sides, friends.
Did you hear that, friends? Because yes, there's always two sides, and you need to see it from his perspective, from your perspective, and most importantly, ask what God's perspective is of it. And he will be the one to tell you the truth and help you through it. Marriage is hard, but man, marriage can be such a blessing. So we encourage you to center on Christ in your marriages. And when we come back, we will have our guest of the day.
Mouth-watering family recipes, easy-to-make meals, humor and faith fill the inspiring show Dano on the Counter. Born with only half a spine, Dano Burkhardt was never supposed to be able to hold his head up. Despite countless surgeries, a stroke, leg amputations, and kidney transplants, Dano developed a contagious love for life. Join Dano on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. on Fox 8 as he shares his easy-to-make dishes and the hope that keeps him pushing forward.
Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. And today we have Cory Bell with us. Cory, before we go into marriages and how we make them work, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm married to George. We've been married 43 years, going on 44 this year.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, 4 children. Most of them live away from here. Been a believer since, probably 1975. Went to a conference in State College and accepted the Lord.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, Cory.
Yeah.
So 44 years. So I'm 44. So that seems like a long time, you know, especially
How long have y'all been married?
20.
Teresa?
32.
41, 44.
44.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, we see in today's world that number is rare, very rare. So what would you say? Well, let's go back a little bit even. When you first got married, what did things look like for you?
Oh, Rosie. You hear all the things on Disney, you know, things you're raised with, all the books, it's all happily ever after. And then you get married and it's like George explains, 2 big streams coming together and it's like a big smash.
Yes.
So one of the things, I don't know how unbelievers do it, because the word is what really helped. The first scripture I believe that God gave me was the beginning of strife is like letting out water. So abandon the quarrel before it breaks out, because man, you just want to get in there and I want my side known and the emotions
Wow,
come
that is.
up.
What's that reference? Do you know?
It's Proverbs 17, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but anyway, the more though that marriage went along, the more I saw it was almost like a sanctification process, where it's not him, it's like, God, what are you working in me?
Absolutely true.
And everything that, it just seemed like constantly certain things would come up. And I know I've heard this before, where you have to heat metal to a certain degree to get all those impurities to rise up. So it just seemed like the more God put his finger on something, the more the heat went up and it was harder. You know, that stuff has to come off. And I look at it as a teacher where you're taking a test. Sometimes I have to keep taking that test over and over and over because I fail it. Other times it's, I pass. It's like, okay.
We like it when we can just slide through and pass.
But anyway, it is a process, and it's really helped me in my relationship with the Lord. I know one of the things that I've learned to do is control emotion. Like, it's really hard to control emotions. So a lot of times, if I'm walking in the Spirit, I can do that. But if I'm walking and I say, okay, the flesh is going to just go, then that's when the problem comes. But one of the things I do is I walk. I try to go up on the mountain by myself with a dog and walk. And if I have an issue, it's like God hears about it. And he usually will help me to be able to then come, like I'll pray. And if it's me that he's pointing the finger at, it's like, okay, show me, help me to deal with this. But if it's not, it's like, okay, then I pray for my husband. It's like, Lord, show him. And there have been times that I've come down and the first thing he's done is, he asked my forgiveness. It's like, would you please forgive me? So it's more about releasing my wants, my will. That's the big issue for me, is like, I want to be right.
We all want to be right.
I definitely. But I think I am right. That's the problem.
It's like, oh Lord, okay, and it's humbling. It's that pride thing that wants to rise up. It's like, I'm the one who's right.
These girls know you and George much better than I do. I have recently met y'all in the last year, 18 months. Right. But I see that the two of you really honor each other, which blesses me a lot. And it is obvious. You don't have to talk to either one of you very long to know that God is first in your lives. Yeah. But y'all really honor each other, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Especially because we don't see it a lot. You know, even when I was thinking about this episode of wanting to bring on someone that I think shows what marriage should be, I struggled a little bit to think of who that would be. quite honestly. So we don't see it a lot in today's, day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
appreciate that y'all live it out.
Yeah.
You're not quiet about it. I mean, I'm not saying you stand on a rooftop, but you live out your
A great example.
love of Jesus and your love of each other.
Thank you. Thank
Right.
you.
So
Yeah.
as the year, 44 years, if someone was to come to you and say, how did you make it 44 years? And what are some tips that you might give to someone who's just starting out?
Well, the first scripture that comes to my mind is God hates divorce. So, because when you're in the middle of an argument and you're really having a difficult time, it's like, I want to run. But the problem is, you get out of a marriage, you get into another one, it's the same issues that come up. So, may as well deal with them now.
Right.
And we pray together every morning. We get in the Word. First thing, whoever wakes up first, which is usually George, he makes coffee, and we get in the Word and we pray. And it's hard when you're having an argument to pray, so you're really kind of working that out as you go along. Another thing, I read a book by Jerry Jenkins, Hedges, and he has some really good tips on, because you want people who are a friend of your marriage. George just did one of the YouTube videos about a woman, and she said you don't really want friends per se, but friends of your marriage who want to speak into it to help the marriage, not just personally you, like take your side or take his side,
That's
or whatever,
good.
but a friend
That
of the
is
marriage.
good.
So those are probably, the Lord, submitting to Him and getting in the Word and really obeying it. Like a lot of times it's hard to do because the flesh comes in, the emotions come in, especially like the hormonal stuff that you go through with life, like with menopause. And now that he's retired, I'm going through other things because now George is there all the time. Before he was away all the time, so I kind of was boss. Well, now he's back, so it's like learning again to...
What about when people are in the midst of raising children and doing, when you had your 4 children, did y'all pray together and read the Bible every morning, or how did you make that work then?
Then it was when we had our times to do that.
Okay.
Right? Because a lot of times it is difficult.
Yes.
Because the first thing you're trying to get kids off to school. So when they would be in school, I was able to get in the Word. He would, when he was driving, because he did drive a lot, he would be praying, or when he would have some downtime. But it is hard to get in the Word, but you have to be proactive and really make time. It's, just like you want to make time to exercise or do something else, a hobby. You make time to do that.
You make time for what's important.
Yes.
That's exactly
Yes.
right.
Really.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
What's
right.
important to you.
Yeah.
What I like that you're saying too is, it changes
Yes.
because of different things that are going on in
Yes.
your life, and you have to change with that
Yes. Yes.
and learn how to navigate the newness of it.
Right. Like exactly when we were facing empty nest, it's like, oh, Lord, how's that going to work? Because we've always had the kids. And it was almost like a fun time. Well, now it's just going to be us. Now, what did we do before we had children? I always wonder. And so anyway, but one of the things I dealt with too is that he traveled a lot. So he didn't like to go places, whereas I was at home all the time and I wanted to go. So we had to work that out too.
And something I hear people saying is, he's not the same person I married, or she's not the same as when we got married. Well, no,
Yeah.
of course we're not the same.
Right.
We're not supposed to be the same. Let's grow together. But when you said you don't know how non-Christians make it, ever.
Yes.
If you don't have that goal of Jesus,
Yes.
I don't know how they do it.
Right, and it's a covenant. It's a covenant you make, and if you break it, you're breaking covenant. And it's supposed to be an example of Christ in the church. So does that mean Christ breaks covenant with us? No, no. So
And it's a decision that you make daily to say,
Yes.
I'm going to work through this. And I like the part where you said too, when you were taking a walk, God will say, is it me or is it him? Because a lot of the times it's me,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's hard to hear,
Yeah.
and no one likes to hear
Right.
it. But I like that you do that. You walk away from the situation, take that walk to get clarity, and you send it right to God. Because a lot of times what we do is we'll call a friend, like you said, have those friends on our side.
That's right. That's right.
Or whatever. But if we take it to God, He's going to be the one that's truthful with us to let us know.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's gentle,
Yeah, He is.
which is great.
Thankfully.
Compassionate. He knows. Okay,
He is
stop
so
taking
gentle
account.
and kind with us.
Yeah.
And we need that because
Right.
Keeping no record of wrongs, and it's so big, but it is hard. It is a constant sanctification process.
Right.
Our marriages are. They
Right.
really are.
Yeah, which is,
it's not easy. And like you said, who knows how you do it without God, because marriage truly is a hard thing, but it can be such a
Right.
blessing and such a God thing too.
yes.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I truly do admire you and George's relationship, and 44 years, what a blessing that is to have. And if you need advice, if you're not sure, I encourage you, talk to George and Cory, because truly they have a lot of good advice that they can give you. And when we come back, we will have our tip for the day.
For generations, Dick's Home Care has been providing the best equipment and service for patient care at home. Breathe easier with oxygen from Dick's Home Care. Oxygen concentrators give you a continuous oxygen supply at home. Oxygen cylinders supply oxygen without power. And portable oxygen frees you to go. Dick's Home Care technicians will set your oxygen up and make sure you know how to use it. Call the leader in home medical equipment, Dick's Home Care.
Made by Vogel is a father and son business that produces high-quality handmade wooden products such as cutting boards, bowls, bottle stoppers, and more. Products for sale can be found on their Etsy site or in downtown Altoona at the Clay Cup. You can't go wrong buying from Made by Vogel.
Did you know winter blues are a thing, and especially when you live somewhere that has cold temperatures like Pennsylvania? So I thought I would share a few things you can do to keep those winter blues away. First, move. Move that body. Take a walk. Don't become a couch potato. Second, keep warm. Put on those comfy PJs. Have a cup of hot tea. Snuggle up in that soft blanket. And third, get as much natural sunlight as possible. You can take vitamin D3 as a supplement, since there's not much to get during those winter months. Lastly, do something that brings you joy. The winter months can be long, but they don't need to be blue. By the time this airs, we will be that much closer to spring, but I do believe God wants us to enjoy all seasons. And here's a few days to mark on your calendar. Today is Make a Friend Day and Super Bowl Sunday. Hoping my Chiefs are playing, but thinking this might not be their year. Guys, don't forget your girls on February 14th, Valentine's Day, and February 17th is Random Act of Kindness Day, and February 25th is National Clam Chowder Day. That's one of my favorite soups. So until next week, let's talk about it.